This is Two Kinds, Part 4. Waverly's Waverly's sulky expression. I had on a white dress layered with the sheets of lace and a pink bow in my Peter Pan haircut. As I sat down, I envisioned people jumping to their feet and Ed Sullivan rushing up to introduce me to everyone on TV. And I started to play. It was so beautiful. I was so caught up in how lovely I looked that at first I didn't worry how I would sound. So it was a surprise to me when I hit the first wrong note, and then I realized something didn't quite sound right. And then I hit another, and another followed that. A chill started at the top of my head and began to trickle down. Yet I couldn't stop playing, as though my hands were bewitched. I kept thinking my fingers would adjust themselves back, like a train switching to the right track. I played this strange jumble through two repeats, the sour notes staying with me all the way to the end. When I stood up, I discovered my legs were shaking. Maybe I had just been nervous, and the audience, like old Chong, had seen me go through the right motions and had not heard anything wrong at all. I swept my right foot out, went down on my knee, and looked up and smiled. The room was quiet except for old Chong, who was beaming and shouting, "Bravo, bravo, well done." But then I saw my mother's face, her stricken face. The audience clapped weakly, and I walked back to my chair with my whole face quivering as I tried not to cry. I heard a little boy whisper loudly to his mother, "That was awful." And the mother whispered back, "Well, she certainly tried." And now I realized how many people were in the audience, and the whole world, it seemed. I was aware of eyes burning into my back. I felt the shame of my mother and father as they sat stiffly throughout the rest of the show. We could have escaped during intermission. Pride and some strange sense of honor must have anchored my parents to their chairs. And so we watched it all. The 18-year-old boy with the fake mustache who did a magic show and juggled flaming hoops while riding a unicycle. The breasted girl with the white makeup who sang from Madame Butterfly and got honorable mention. And the 11-year-old boy who won first prize playing a tricky violin song that sounded like a busy bee. After the show, the Sues, the Youngs, and the St. Clairs from the Joy Luck Club came up to my mother and father. "Lots of talented kids," Auntie Linda said vaguely, smiling broadly. "That was something else," said my father, and I wondered if he was referring to me in a humorous way, or whether he even remembered what I had done. Waverly looked at me and shrugged her shoulders. "You aren't a genius like me," she said matter-of-factly, and if I hadn't felt so bad, I would have pulled her braids and punched her stomach. But my mother's expression was what devastated me. That means destroyed or completely upset. A quiet, blank look that she had said lost everything. That said she had lost everything. I felt the same way, and it seemed as if everyone were now coming up like gawkers at the scene of an accident to see what parts were actually missing. When we got on the bus to go home, my father was humming like the busy bee tune, and my mother was silent. I kept thinking she wanted to wait until we got home before shouting at me. But when my father unlocked the door to our apartment, my mother walked in and then went back to the back into the bedroom. No accusations, no blame, and in a way I felt disappointed. I had been waiting for her to start shouting so I could shout back and cry and blame her for all my misery. I assumed my talent show fiasco meant I never had to play the piano again. But 2 days later, after school, my mother came out of the kitchen and saw me watching TV. 4 o'clock, she reminded me as if it were any other day. I was stunned, as though she was asking me to go through the talent show torture again. I wedged myself more tightly in front of the TV. "Turn off TV," she called from the kitchen 5 minutes later. I didn't budge, and then I decided I didn't have to do what my mother said anymore. I wasn't her slave. This wasn't China. I had listened to her before, and look what happened. She was the stupid one. She came out from the kitchen and stood in the arched entryway of the living room. 4 o'clock, she said once again, louder. "I'm not going to play anymore," I said nonchalantly. "Why should I? I'm not a genius." She walked over and stood in front of the TV. I saw her chest was heaving up and down in an angry way. "No," I said, and I now felt stronger, as if my true self had finally emerged. So this was what had been inside me all along. "No, I won't," I screamed. She yanked me by the arm, pulled me off the floor, snapped off the TV. She was frighteningly strong, half pulling, half carrying me toward the piano as I kicked the throw rugs under my feet. She lifted me up onto the hard bench. I was sobbing by now, looking at her bitterly. Her chest was heaving even more, and her mouth was open, smiling crazily as if she were pleased I was crying. "You want me to become someone I'm not," I sobbed. "I'll never be the kind of daughter you want me to be." "Only two kinds of daughters," she shouted in Chinese. "Those who are obedient and those who follow their own mind. Only one kind of daughter can live in this house, obedient daughter." "Then I wish I wasn't your daughter. I wish you weren't my mother," I shouted, and as I said these things, I got scared. I felt like worms and toads and slimy